Welcome, deep divers. Ready for a really cool exploration today. We're
Absolutely.
taking a deep dive into something called ecosystems. Sounds kind of sciencey, maybe?
It is science, but it's also all around us. Super interesting stuff.
Yeah, our mission today is basically to figure out how living things and, well, non-living things work together. How they interact.
Exactly. Think about everything from like a tiny terrarium you might build all the way up to a massive rainforest.
Okay, so before we get technical, maybe think about nature right where you are, like
Yeah.
outside your window or in a park.
Yeah, good idea.
Can you picture just one living thing? Maybe a bird or a plant?
And then maybe two non-living things like the air or maybe a rock or sunlight.
Right. So how do those things connect? Even something simple like, say, an ant walking on the sidewalk. That's part of the bigger picture, isn't it?
It totally is. And what's fascinating here is how these parts, which seem kind of simple on their own, really do connect. An ecosystem isn't just like a list of things, it's more like a busy community. Organisms are always interacting with each other and with the non-living stuff around them.
So interacting. Like how?
Well, it involves how energy moves through the system
Mm.
and how nutrients and materials get sort of cycled around, constantly moving.
Okay, got it. So let's pin that down. What exactly is an ecosystem that you said a community?
Yeah, essentially it's that community, living things interacting with each other and also interacting with their physical, non-living environment.
And you said they can be big or small.
Absolutely. Think massive, like a whole coral reef or the Arctic tundra, or super small, like maybe a compost bin in your backyard.
Oh, interesting. Or even like a little puddle after it rains.
Precisely. Even that puddle is a temporary little ecosystem.
Yeah.
So if we connect this to the bigger picture, every single ecosystem is made up of two main kinds of parts.
Okay, what are they?
We call them biotic factors. That's basically all the living things. Plants, animals, bacteria, fungi, everything alive.
Biotic, like biology living.
Got it. Exactly. And then you have the abiotic factors. That prefix A means non or without, so non-living.
Ah, okay. So abiotic is the non-living stuff, like what?
Things like sunlight, the temperature, water,
Mhm.
the type of soil, maybe the pH level, how much oxygen is there, all those physical and chemical conditions.
Put the biotic and abiotic together.
And boom, you've got yourself an ecosystem.
Okay, this is where it gets really cool, I think. Let's zoom in on the living parts first, the biotic factors.
The stars of the show.
Yeah, these are the things that, grow, reproduce, react to stuff, and they all need energy, right?
Correct.
So we can actually sort them into, like, three main groups based on how they get that energy. Okay, challenge for you listening. Think about a fox, a mushroom, and maybe some seaweed. How do they get their energy? What group would they fit in?
Good question. It forces you to think about their role.
So first up, we have the producers. These are amazing, like plants and algae. They basically make their own food, usually using sunlight through photosynthesis. They're the foundation.
The energy creators for almost everyone else.
Then you've got the consumers. These guys eat other things for energy. Herbivores eat plants. Carnivores eat other animals. Omnivores eat, well, both. That fox we mentioned, definitely a consumer.
Yep, likely a carnivore or omnivore, depending on what it can find.
And finally, maybe the unsung heroes, the decomposers. These are things like fungi that mushroom
Yeah.
and bacteria.
Ah, yes, the recyclers. Crucial.
Totally. They break down dead plants, dead animals, waste products, basically all the leftover stuff. And they return vital nutrients back into the soil or water.
So producers can use them again. It's a cycle. Without decomposers, we'd be buried in dead stuff and nutrients would be locked up.
So that seaweed would be a producer, the fox a consumer, and the mushroom a decomposer. Cool. But what about the non-living parts again? The abiotic factor.
Right, we can't forget them. They're absolutely crucial. They basically set the rules for the ecosystem. They determine which species can even live there in the first place. Well, think about sunlight. A dark cave has way less producers than a sunny field, right? Or temperature. Why don't polar bears live in the desert?
Because it's way too hot.
Exactly. The temperature is a limiting abiotic factor. It's not just about the bear itself, but the whole environment. It's adapted to the cold, the ice for hunting seals, which is also related to temperature. Water availability is another huge one.
So the abiotic factors kind of create the stage, and the biotic factors are the actors.
That's a great way to put it. They constantly influence each other.
Okay, so let's tie this together. Energy flows through the ecosystem. You said it starts with the sun, usually.
Mostly, yes. Sun to producers.
Then consumers eat the producers.
Other consumers might eat those consumers.
And eventually, everything dies and the decomposers get involved. So the energy flows one way, more or less.
Right. Energy flows through. But here's a really cool part you mentioned earlier. Matter, like nutrients, carbon, nitrogen, water, it gets recycled.
It doesn't just disappear.
Nope. It cycles around and around thanks to processes like decomposition and photosynthesis.
Okay, quick brain teaser for you. What do you think would happen if, poof, all the decomposers on Earth suddenly vanished?
Oh, wow. Dead stuff would just pile up everywhere. And plants wouldn't get nutrients. That sounds bad.
It would be catastrophic, exactly. Let's make it concrete. Think about a pond ecosystem.
Okay, a pond.
What are the biotic factors? You'd have maybe some water plants, algae, maybe frogs, fish, little plankton, insects buzzing around.
Right, loads of living things.
And the abiotic factors, the
Yep.
water itself, its chemistry like pH or oxygen levels, the sunlight hitting the surface, the mud and rocks at the bottom, the temperature.
They're all interacting.
Constantly. Fish eat insects. Frogs might eat insects too. The plants use the sunlight and nutrients from the mud. When things die, decomposers in the mud break them down. Can you picture a food chain there, like maybe 4 steps? Algae producer gets eaten by maybe a tiny water flea, consumer 1, which gets eaten by a small fish, consumer 2, which gets eaten by a bigger fish or a herring, consumer 3.
Perfect. That shows the energy flow. But remember, it's really more like a web with lots of connections.
Right, not just simple chains. Now, you said ecosystems come in all shapes and sizes. We have land ones terrestrial, like forests, deserts, grasslands.
And aquatic ones, water-based, like freshwater lakes and rivers, or saltwater oceans and coral reefs.
And what makes them different? Things like climate, geography.
Exactly. Climate is huge, temperature and rainfall. Also altitude, how salty the water is.
Yeah.
All those abiotic factors shape the kind of ecosystem you get.
Here's a question. Why do you think there tends to be more variety of life, more biodiversity near the equator, like in tropical rainforests?
Ooh. Is it because it's warm and wet all year round? Lots of sunlight? Stable conditions?
You're right on track. Those stable, favorable abiotic conditions allow for a huge diversity of life to thrive.
But ecosystems aren't always stable, are they? Things can change them. Definitely. They are dynamic. Disturbances happen. Some are natural, like a hurricane, a volcanic eruption, maybe a drought.
And some are, us. Like human-caused things.
Unfortunately, yes. Things like deforestation, pollution, introducing species that don't belong. These can really shake up an ecosystem, sometimes drastically.
Is that where that trophic cascade thing comes in? Sounds dramatic.
It can be. A trophic cascade is when a change at one level of the food web, maybe removing a top predator or adding one, causes ripples all the way down. It affects the whole system.
You have an example?
A classic one is the reintroduction of wolves into Yellowstone National Park in the U.S. They had been gone for decades.
Okay, so wolves came back. They eat elk, right?
They do. So the elk numbers went down a bit, but more importantly, the elk changed their behavior. They avoided areas where they could easily be hunted by wolves, like open river valleys.
And that made a difference.
A huge one. With fewer elk grazing heavily in those areas, plants like willow and aspen started to grow back along the rivers. More plants meant more habitat for birds and beavers. The beavers built dams, which changed the rivers themselves. It shows how removing or adding just one key species can change the entire landscape. Everything is connected.
That's incredible. One change really did cascade through the whole system.
Hmm.
Okay, so let's try and wrap up this deep dive. Key takeaways.
Number 1, ecosystems are all about interactions. Living things biotic interacting with each other and with the non-living abiotic environment.
Right. And energy flows through the system, mostly starting from the sun.
While matter, like nutrients, gets recycled over and over, it doesn't get used up.
And maybe the biggest thing, changes in one part can ripple out and affect the whole ecosystem, like that Yellowstone example. It's all interconnected.
Precisely. Which leads to a final thought for you to chew on.
Okay.
How could really understanding how these ecosystems work,
Mm.
all these connections and cycles, how could that help us tackle some of the big environmental problems we're facing today, like climate change or pollution?
That's a really big question. I guess if we understand the connections, we can maybe predict the ripples or figure out how to fix things without making them worse.
Thinking about those connections is definitely the powerful first step.
Okay, that is it for this deep dive, everyone. Keep exploring, keep asking questions.
And keep noticing those amazing ecosystems all around you, big and small.